What's up, everybody? It's the fight preview. You know the drill by now. I get experts to talk about boxing and preview fights, so you have enthusiasm. This week I have Elliot. Elliot, why don't you introduce yourself and talk about the platform that you have?
Thanks, Luke. Thanks for having me. It's been a while since we did something on your platform, so it's good to do that. It feels like I'm always asking you for favors recently. I try and steer the ship of an outlet called ESBR Boxing, UK based outlet. We go to shows like everybody else does, but we also do our own content, fight previews, prediction videos, betting tips, that sort of thing. So yeah, it's a constant churn. Boxing's a relentless sport, but still enjoying it, still here, and it's good to be speaking with you.
So you know about the hamster wheel that is media coverage. By Monday, you're already starting the week up. For my American peeps, which I think are quite a few of the people that follow my content, kind of lay the groundwork in the most fascinating sense of Conor Benn-Chris Eubank Jr. I know you could go many different ways, but what's like the most fascinating elements from a British sporting public watching this fight?
Yeah, so I think that it depends how old you are. There are some people who are kind of maybe in their 40s and 50s who saw the dads fight. They might like this fight because it reminds them of that fight, but then again, they might not because Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn aren't the fighters their dads were. And then you have people kind of my age who weren't around for the dads fighting, but these two guys are big names in British boxing. And then you have people who are kind of very new on the scene who perhaps don't know who Nigel Benn is or don't really know Chris Eubank Sr. is, but are in this fight because it's filling up a massive football soccer stadium. People are talking about it. So yeah, I don't know, it's kind of a legacy fight, a generational fight. It's going to be a big deal when it does take place.
What's your level of interest?
Um, I've got a casual. Look. I watch a lot of boxing. Um, I think for me, I'm interested because it's a big fight, but at the same time, this fight it doesn't really matter who wins because it doesn't really affect anything or anyone apart from those involved. There's no world titles on the line. Winning this fight isn't going to necessarily lead the winner to a world title. It's a big fight. There's a lot of people watching. There's a lot of money involved, but I'm not. Whoever wins, it just doesn't really mean anything. So therefore, my interest in it has gone down a little bit. But it's one of those where on the night everyone's going to be watching, whether you're a big boxing fan or not. So it's hard not to kind of be interested to an extent.
Yeah, this is a weird one for me because I feel I understand what you're saying. I'm probably going to watch about 4 or 5 fight cards before I get to this fight card, maybe even that week, just watching degenerate boxing fan. But the the British nature of the fight and all the pre-hype buildup not being catered to an American audience, I
Mm.
hate to say it, but it's kind of made the fight not matter as much because I'm not being shoved down the throat with kind of like what makes people excited about the fight, getting them together, the egg on the face, the bickering, the backstory that was so huge in Britain. It's an interesting fight as we lead into fight week because for me, I'm not sure how interested I'll be in it, and I'm a big fight guy.
Yeah, for sure. I think one thing I'd be interested to get your opinion on here as well, Luke, without taking over, is Conor Benn. He was seen as the future of British boxing in terms of the next pay-per-view star. The failed drugs test things happened, and now it's going to be interesting to see the reaction to him fighting in the UK because he's not fought here for a long time. And I don't feel like Conor Benn. I don't know how many people know about him outside of the UK, outside of hardcore boxing fans. And Chris Eubank Jr. has been around a long time, but is he a relevant name in the US? I know he's fought in there in the past, but would he kind of get recognized in the street? So yeah, I think it's very much a British, maybe it's just very much a British thing.
I think the other thing is Conor Benn came off really unlikable. Like the drug
Mm.
test was one thing, but the way he handled it, in my opinion, there was zero accountability, which made him kind of feel like a rich kid. And it really just made any of his future fights uninteresting to me. And Chris Eubank Jr. is just kind of never gone to that next level. He's always been a name I heard. but he's never made that jump to fight a Golovkin or fight those other guys. So I guess that's where like you said, you don't know where it goes, right? Or it doesn't impact things. It kind of feels like they're made for each other, not just because of the rivalry, but also because like we don't really know where they go from here.
Yeah, for sure. Um, and that's and I think okay, so to touch on the Conor Benn failed drugs test, I think some people, including myself, the problem that some of us have is that we still haven't been given an explanation as to why he failed the two tests. We know he has been kind of cleared by some people, but he's not been cleared by me. He's not been cleared by a lot of people. A lot of people aren't accepting of the fact that he seems to have failed these tests and um, hasn't really kind of faced any kind of sort of punishment. And here he is earning a lot of money in a massive fight. Um, and I think Chris Eubank Jr. from now on, it's about money for him. I don't think he really wants to be a world champion or cares about being a world champion. It's it's going to be. I'm interested to see what he does next, but I think for him, win or lose, he'll probably want the Ben rematch because it's another shed load of money.
Yeah, it's just to me, it's like Ben, the failed drug test. I get where you're coming from. For me, it's just the way he handled it. He was just so unlikable. It was like and then he kind of did the Pete Dobson fight. Here's a guy who's a club fighter, and he's just constantly making fun of him. I get that
Mm.
boxers do that, but it's like you're kind of making fun of like a poor guy from America getting a big opportunity, and it's like on top of this thing that like delayed fights. And the thing that really bothered me is like fighters like Ellie Scottney didn't get like an apology or like a hey, my bad that this fight isn't happening because that money probably meant a lot to him. With Conor Benn, there was a lot of entitlement that really rubbed me the wrong way, and he has to gain my interest back by taking interesting fights. And I'm not quite sure until this fight plays out if this fits the bill.
Yeah, and I'm sure we could go into more detail about how much PR disaster this was for him. A while ago, he did that interview with Piers Morgan, and in the interview, he said he didn't accept that the drugs were ever in his body, which I thought was an outstanding thing to say, considering you failed the test. So how can you fail tests without them being in your body? I don't understand that. So it was a PR, yeah, it was just a PR disaster. And as you said, he just didn't accept that, didn't seem to accept that this has happened. However, I think that people can turn a blind eye to these things. People can forget about these things. And I'm really interested when he makes his ring walk on like April 26th. Is he going to get booed? Is he going to get cheered? I don't know. That's what I'm really interested in. And the big thing is if Ben wins, is he then the big star in British boxing for the next 5 years? Because he was set out to be. But the question is that going to happen? But you got to talk about his ability as well, right? How is he good enough to be world champion, to be in big pay-per-view fights? What's going to happen then? Because if you look at his resume, you can kind of dig a lot of holes in it.
Okay. Um, Outcome of the fight. What do you think?
I am going for Chris Eubank Jr. to stop Conor Benn in the middle rounds. I think I don't like the idea of people moving up two weight classes, especially when you're not especially big in the weight class you're already in my opinion. Conor Benn, the good wins he has on his record have question marks over them due to the failed drugs tests, whereas Chris Eubank Jr., I know he has failed at a certain level, but he's beaten some good guys as well. I have question marks over Chris Eubank Jr. where he is in his career. I don't think it was a great performance last time against Zerameta. But yeah, without going on too long, Chris Eubank Jr. middle rounds for me.
Okay, that's good. So now, everybody, if you want to hear more of this conversation, you got to go over to my Substack, and we are going to briefly break down the undercard for the hardcore enthusiast. Liam Smith, Aaron McKenna. We had kind of talked about it as friends talking back and forth. This is just a real good fight, in my opinion. I don't know how to take it.